Faris, amazing to see you again in person.
Yes.
Great to be in London.
Yeah, podcast number 3, Jens. Nobody gets 3 slices of Faris.
Thank you very much for that.
No. Thank you. It's great to not only be on your podcast, but for you to come to London and see you and catch up.
Yeah, it's always good to meet up for beers and podcasts.
Yeah,
the combination.
The combo, yeah. Everyone out there should combine the two.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now, so one thing I really would love to explore with you is all the things that are happening in the world right now. We have wars that go on.
Yeah.
We have huge technology transformation if we take AI as one of the many things. And they're all impacting us as humans, but also the way, like the behaviors that we have, plus how organizations might look like in the future. So I would love to explore that with you because you're one of the experts when it comes to the leadership and human part of organizations.
Absolutely. I think you learn more about a leader, about a person during tough times than during good times, right? And the world at the moment is pretty tough. All that volatility that you're talking about. We're really finding out the good leaders, the good work colleagues, the good friends, and even people are learning that about themselves. Because we all carry an image of how we think we'll be during these times.
For me, it's just if we start with the tech part, I mean that's just getting started.
Yeah.
If we take AI as an example, I mean I'm just exploring this like we talked yesterday.
Yeah.
Like building my own agent and building a network of agents that can do literally already a lot that just 2 years ago could only be done by humans in an organization. And I mean I have a small business, so I don't need to fire anyone. I don't need to retrain anyone. But just the pure opportunity with that technology, if that will hit large organizations, there will be hugely changes. Plus, at least my perspective, the leadership role will change or not change. I don't know. What's your view on that?
I mean, absolutely, the leadership role will change. It'll change during the transition, right? It's a change program. You've got to lead strongly. You've got to get others to follow. It'll change as a result. You could potentially be left with less communication with your team if everything is optimized and you don't need to check in with people. You don't need to sense check, and that's really difficult for a leader. A lot of good leadership comes from contact time. But not in the sense that actually that was a really interesting consequence of the COVID and people working from home. A lot of leaders felt they lost their ability because they weren't seeing people. Yeah. So it's that on steroids it could be. And for the leaders themselves, is their job going to still be there? Sure. I see a lot of leaders at the moment who may be towards the end of their career kind of doing like a child when they first learned to play hide and seek. They're like, if I close my eyes, this won't catch me. Maybe I can just ride it out until I retire and not actually have to embrace it. And so it's amazing how many senior rooms I walk into where they are making big decisions on AI, but aren't necessarily using it themselves.
That's difficult because they have not. I mean, even if it's on a user base, they should at least understand or dig a little bit deeper into it.
Yeah, you'd think you'd have a bit of, not everyone needs to be an expert at their car, but they should at least know the main parts of it and have sat in it and have tested it. And it's the same with AI. So, it's going to impact the workforce, it's going to impact the leaders. We're already seeing it. So it's how do you help with that transition? What's the changes people need to adopt? And as with anything leadership, it starts with yourself.
Yeah. How is it with the organization that you work with? We don't need to put names on the table, but are they looking into the transition? Are they looking like what's happening the next 2 years?
Absolutely.
And how does our organization need to look different if it needs to look different?
Yeah, so just for context, I'm not egotistical to think people have watched our previous 2 podcasts together.
Oh, yeah.
So the kind of work I do is with big corporate senior teams around strategy, how they work well together, achieving their goals. So that's where the leadership side comes. So pretty much every client, big or small, is looking at AI as part of their corporate strategy. How can we get value from it? Either because they are early adopters or they want to get value, or they're scared. Their competitors are using it. Yeah. But it's in every conversation. It's and that's where I'm seeing that, you can see people talking about something, but you can sense in the room they're not really understanding. And so then in those situations, there's a need for them to get a minimum level of knowledge. and that's something I try and help them with. Create a safe environment. It's incredibly hard as a leader, as a senior person, to admit you're bad at something.
Yeah.
And have a safe enough space to learn about that topic. So how can you create that without them looking like falling flat on their face? But then also helping them realize who are the people they need to tap into to get that knowledge. How much trust, because everyone out there is going to try and sell you a solution, will promise the AI landscape. So it can be very confusing for a leader when you've also got to make decisions on everything else that's out there.
Yeah, and going to the point that if you don't go into it yourself, which I understand, if you, let's say at the end of your career and you got to the position that you have with the past knowledge and it brought you so far and now restarting to relearning something, it's always difficult. And then imagining even what could the future look like, some people are just not willing to do it or uncomfortable at least.
Yeah, you think about your own life. There's times when you're, and this is to anyone out there, there's times when you're more up for change. And there's times you're like, I'm exhausted. Do I have to learn another tech? Do I have to pick up go again? So, and in any team, everyone's at a different stage, but they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
It's not like they say at the start of all right, AI is on the table. Everybody come up and score where we are on the change matrix. How up for this are you? Because even if you did do that, the people who are only one or two are going to be scared out of their minds to actually show that to everyone else. They're like, oh God, I'll be the one who'll be in the firing line. So there's all these aspects. As with any change program, how much are you up for it? What's your level of knowledge? How quickly can you pick up the skills? And we're not saying everyone needs to be an expert out there, right? Have a bit of information, but then identify who the expert is, right? How much trust. So many times in teams, senior teams that I see, and this is going a bit tangential, everyone wants to be involved in every decision.
Yeah.
That no organization can do that. No.
It's not possible.
It's not possible. So the best organizations, the best leadership groups I work with allocate decisions, almost like these are gold level decisions. Okay, we need everyone's input. These are silver level decisions. We just gonna outsource it to one person out of the 8 of us. These are bronze. None of us should be involved with. It should be delegated down the business. We shouldn't be deciding which cleaner we use, what color to paint the walls. These are not exec level conversations. But it's amazing how often they step into those conversations. I know. And so just having that conversation, listing all those decisions, and it should be the same on AI. Because the thing about AI, because it is exciting for some people have gone off like a rabbit and started learning a lot about it. And with the greatest respect in the world, that can be a dangerous thing if you're someone with a bit of knowledge and being slightly ahead of everyone else.
Do you then think that an organization, if we take an org chart as one of the example, is that going to shift? Is that going to change with technology taking over a lot of, let's say, even jobs or tasks? Or potentially, I have no idea.
I remember 15 years ago, I was at a consulting firm and we were trying to sell a lot of RPA, robotic process automation. And the guys who were leading on that, they would often show these org charts with robots in them, saying, oh no, there'll be Dave the robot. He'll be just like a member of your team, right? You'll treat him like a member of your team. You'll check in with him in the morning. And it looked really weird on these org charts. And you could always see the clients look confused. Like, are we going to get a physical robot? No, it's just a terminal. Even that. So I don't think it was accepted then. I think we're still away from where we'll see robots on org charts or AI on org charts. And I think it'll be a while before we see disappearing of roles. I mean, volume of roles might go, but we're still at a stage with AI from my experience that you need sense checking and levels. So it will be, the org charts may be thinner, but I don't think we're going to lose any traditional roles at the moment.
With that, as a leader, do I then need to learn to lead differently?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the same principles come back, around good leadership, but you need to have an open mind. You need to, depending on how much you're going to embrace AI, and you need to embrace AI. And again, I'm not the AI expert here in the room. But you need to be challenging people to use it. But how do you go about that challenge, right? We've seen some famous cases that say, if you're not doing this, you're sacked. Yeah. I don't know. I see these pop up on social media. I don't know if they're a joke or not. I turned off our subscription to ChatGPT, and anyone who didn't complain got fired, right? If anyone who didn't realize, you're like, that's not a great leadership style. That kind of, I get it. It's immediate and maybe you're doing that to tell the story afterwards, but don't lose your fundamental human connections, strategic decision making, lighting a fire under people.
It was interesting to that point. The NVIDIA CEO, I think it was last week, said in a podcast conversation that they're measuring how many tokens the top engineers are using. And if they're not using at least double their salary in tokens, then they're not utilizing the tools, in their case, AI, in a proper way. And then he will have a discussion with them.
I mean, that's a case in point, right? Make what you want of that. But I think we were talking about this last night with our own businesses. So much early days of early adoption of anything, you measure inputs. How many tokens am I burning? How many business meetings am I having? How much time am I putting in? Great when you want to get momentum into something. But ultimately, if your business is still being measured on that, it's not a successful business. It should be outputs. So who cares how many tokens you burn? If you are the genius who can get a prompt or get something done in one shot, and I'm not saying you can, right? Don't be overconfident. Then you shouldn't be penalized because you didn't use as many tokens as Bob over here who...
No, 100% agree. But again, the interesting thing is with all these changes, metrics are changing, and we as leaders need to retool ourselves or need to rethink how do we measure success? What are the different things? And then as well help our team members to go through these transitions, because the changes that are coming, if they come from AI or from a war or something else, they're always coming. I think that's one of the topics we discussed in the first podcast that we did. And we need to get people comfortable with these changes because they're just more rapidly.
It comes back to that change, right? Change fatigue. Where are you on the chart? As the leader, you've got to make decisions on behalf of your organization. Which change are we going to go all in on? Because in theory, AI has the power to change every division, every function in your business. Doesn't mean you should. All right. Great. You and I are both runners. The classic thing in running is don't change too much on race day. Right. And for most companies, every day is the race day. So don't change your finance to, unleash AI in finance, unleash AI in sales, pick which of them are your key characteristics or the safe zones or the places to try and do your pilots, get the benefits and then move on. But imagine that, you're right, it will be change on steroids.
How do you see this with the companies that you work with? Are you doing different leadership trainings with them on these topics, or do you just do the things that have worked over the last years?
I mean, the beauty of leadership, beauty of well-run businesses, it doesn't matter the topic. It doesn't matter the age. There's, I often think it's the equivalent of the Lindy effect. Have you heard of the Lindy effect? The best books, the most popular books are the ones that have survived the longest. That knowledge doesn't change. There's a reason people still read the Bible. There's a reason they still read, books, Charles Dickens, but also the business books that are the best are the ones that have lasted the longest. So it's the same, really. Go back to the principles, because it's all good and well teaching great leadership around AI, but if they're really terrible communicators, if they're really bad at motivating, it's worth fixing that before I really upskill you in AI.
But that goes with also selecting the right leaders for the right roles. I mean, it's nothing new, but still.
And that's what is going to be another challenge for leaders, that they might not be the right person to lead. It's amazing how you have to park your ego. Yes, it's great, but the likelihood that older people are going to really dive into this in their volumes, it's going to be the young people who've got time and things. So there's going to be opportunity for younger leaders. Now, that's not saying that, go and find the 20-year-old who knows how to use AI and give them the CEO role. There is ways of filtering in that knowledge in an environment that benefits both groups. A classic thing, and this is irrespective of AI, but a classic thing I'm doing more of is shadow boards, right? Shadow exec committees made of younger people who are given exactly the same information as and they actually run their meeting at the same time as the other group. And you compare the outputs, the decisions they made, the conversations they had versus this group. And of course, the senior, more established group gets the final say. But they get to review that and say, that's something we never even thought of. Why did we not have that conversation?
So they go into this conversation with the same input?
Yeah.
And kind of
same
we
board
need to discuss,
meeting, minutes, meeting,
Cool.
same presentations. But where did their conversation take them versus yours?
That's
right?
amazing.
Let's see a summary of that. Right? And there are variations of that. Right? You can invite guest people into your board meetings to give them exposure, but also to hear those different voices. Because it's amazing. It comes back to that sort of, we don't know what we don't know. And that's okay as a leader to say that. But it takes a lot of humility to say that.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it takes leaders that are willing to step into this unknown, and as well being willing to be challenged from other team members or other people, even if it's outside people, to really have a longer term perspective and then figure out what do we need to change, how do we change. But it starts, like you said, with themselves. If they're not willing to challenge themselves, then it's not going to happen. Then it just kind of isolate themselves from the future and will survive somehow.
Yeah.
And it's anyhow nothing is changing.
Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and we're all guilty of it, right? Nobody. There's so many of the rooms I walk into, or particularly younger leaders, we talk about growth mindset.
Yeah.
Okay. Great term. Great concept. But it is physically impossible for everyone to have a growth mindset 100% of the time on every 100% of topics. Yeah. So it's the same as leaders. It is be honest with yourself. Where am I at the moment? How open am I to this? In a stupid way, it's why I like to keep challenging myself personally to do stuff to take me back to the humble beginnings, right? Oh my God, this is really painful having to admit I don't know anything about this, that I'm terrible. But there are days where I'm like, no, right?
But I think that's a point we all can do more of, challenging ourselves.
Yeah, I think I often, and I don't know if it works. I use myself as a human experiment. Okay, and I have a hypothesis that the more we put ourselves through micro changes, the more we're able to deal with macro changes. So constantly find stuff to disrupt your own life and make you feel uncomfortable, so that when the day comes that you need that discomfort, you're better. Now, that could all be rubbish and my hypothesis will be disproven. But in the worst case scenario, you're picking up new skills, you're picking up new challenges. So it's not really like you're losing anything by not having that approach.
I mean, the interesting, at least for you and me as entrepreneurs, we have this anyhow every day. Things are changing. We need to act and react to things. So that's already given. Yeah.
But you take it even extremer. I think I do stupid small things. You do stupid big things. So
no, it's for me, and one of the things we have discussed yesterday is my 365-day running streak that I'm just saying. For me, it's just challenging myself to develop habits that sometimes, like yesterday, traveling to London and getting up really early is completely stupid.
Yeah,
but if you do it, it's possible.
Yes.
And it's same thing. In the end, if you set yourself to a goal and that you want to achieve that, it's on you to keep moving towards that. And if that sometimes means you need to do uncomfortable things, you will learn from it.
Yeah.
And everyone can get up at 3:55.
Everyone
if
can.
If they want to.
Yeah. If you're watching this, don't get up at 3. No, yes. Well, you say that, but everyone can. Those who do are, counted on one hand in the relative scale of things. But and you don't need to jump to 365 days as your first thing. You can do something really small, like cutting out sugar from your tea if you've always had sugar. The one I always talk about is I try and do more things left-handed, even though I'm right-handed.
That's difficult.
It's difficult, right? But it's that micro frustration.
I was hearing about toothbrushing. I tried it. Doesn't work.
Well, it does.
No, I know.
You don't, but you need more than 2 minutes if you're doing it with your weaker hand.
Exactly.
But yes. So discomfort, but bring it back into the world. Yeah. How ready are you? How comfortable are you to be, challenged? Let somebody else lead if you've been in default setting. So a lot of my work is around helping leaders get through that.
If we take the society view on this, I mean, we yesterday we talked about the wars that are going on.
Yeah.
Everything is politicized depending where you are in the world, and politics is due to the the availability of news.
Yeah.
And the news cycles are so short, plus everyone has an opinion that they put out on Twitter or wherever, any social media platform. I think we're in a space where it's almost getting too crazy for people to understand what's going on, and then people make up their mind.
Yeah.
And need to figure it out.
Yeah.
What does it mean for us as leading ourselves, if we focus on that perspective, from all the noise that's happening? What are things we need to learn, do differently? Any view on that?
I mean,
or how do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, there's several things there, right? It's like, how do you stay sane during all the noise? How do you pick which signals to listen to? How do you act when you meet someone who has a different view to you? So how do you stay sane in all the noise? I think you can't listen to everything, but you're in a dangerous place if you switch off the world from everything. So you've got to curate, and how you curate is really the key. Do you let somebody else curate it for you, an algorithm? Right, which is what most of us do.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I'll just see what's on Instagram. Well, that's been created for you, what you see on Instagram. Obviously, you can input into it. Or do you make your choices? I'm going to sign up to this newsletter. I'm going to sign. And one of the things I intentionally do is either look out for topics I know nothing about to feed into mine. So I sign up for newsletters. I go and find people on topics. Or I sign up for newsletters or orators who have a completely opposite viewpoint to me.
Yeah.
And it can be painful to watch those things or read, but I think it makes me a better person to understand the other viewpoint, at least see what's being spoken about on the other side. So you've got to make some choices, and it's better that you make the choice and input into it. And people don't appreciate, even if you are sitting watching algorithms, you can impact them a lot, right? Yeah. Hitting, I don't want to see more of this, I want to see more of this. But most people just leave it on default setting. And then you can't, you shouldn't get angry then at what you're seeing because you haven't made some choices.
Yeah, what for me is always the difficult thing, or at least my perception of it, is everything is this like black or white, which is everything is polarized in either direction. I mean, we see the communication that's happening in context of the war in Iran right now, where everything is kind of done in public rather than, hey, guys, talk to each other. Yeah. And that can be between the war parties, but also with the other parties in the Western world not talking to each other. For me, it's just so, in my eyes, irresponsible, actually. Yeah. Because we just build our opinions based on public polemic.
And this is, this current war, is a perfect example of how it's nuanced. It's not black and white, particularly for the Iranian people. Yeah. They can both at the same time be grateful for getting rid of a dictator, but want the bombing to stop. And you just wrap your head around that. Like, that's so complex. It isn't Team America or Team Iran. It's like there are actual people who are caught in the middle and say, well, we like a bit of both, but we also want everything to completely stop. And that's really the nuance that we should all remember in any situation. There's no one football team. Your football team is better than another football team. There's the league, and without the rival teams, you couldn't be champions. But it's that's the real challenge in society. So, number one is, how do I pick and choose what I listen to? How do I not go crazy choosing everything? Because the other aspect about human beings is FOMO. Yeah. Like, oh my God, I didn't see that. Particularly if someone comes and goes, did you see that? And you're like, no, I was completely oblivious because of my channel. But the other more interesting thing is, how do you get past when you have polar opposite or people with different viewpoints, different things? Now that's really interesting when it comes back to leadership, because leaders now have to lead teams with polarized views.
Yes.
Right? Have to find that commonality. Have to and say, look, park these issues, or even better, solve them. Because it's not going to be helpful. And so that takes a lot of skill as a leader, because many of them don't see themselves as mediators, and they shouldn't have to be. Right? But in my experience, the good thing about humans is it's really hard to hold diametrically polar aggressive views, the more you get to know somebody.
Yeah. I think that's a big one. That's one of the things. I was lucky to live in different cultures and different parts of the world to see and experience it myself. Because yes, you can see a movie or you can go on vacation somewhere, and yourself you have lived in other parts of the world as well. If you're immersing yourself in a different culture, you understand them way better.
Yeah,
but it also requires us to open up to a different culture to even be willing to understanding where did they come from. It's a different religion. It's a different culture. If you don't immerse yourself into this, you will never understand it.
You will never, and we're not telling everyone to get up and go and emigrate. But even have that curiosity about your team. You don't need to go to. It sounds remarkably simple, but I'd say at least 50% of my work is just getting teams to know each other better.
Yeah.
Some of the most basic stuff really moves mountains, really diffuses these conversations. Right? Oh, look, we both have dogs. Oh, look, we both like this TV show. But it's amazing how many particularly senior teams do not just get straight into the nitty gritty of the work. And usually that is discussing a topic. What's our view on it? Right? But like I said, the more you actually get to know someone, it's harder to stay angry at them, to see them as the villain. So yeah, I do loads of really basic stuff, but it really has an impact. And I sometimes feel guilty. My dad says, I can't believe you play games with senior executives and you charge X amount. And I say, but how about I reverse it, Dad, and their performance goes up, right? And they make 10% more money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, by these silly games. And even the executives themselves say, why are you about to make us do some kung fu? Why are you about to make us play card games with each other? Because that sort of spending time getting to know each other means it will be easier to discuss, should we do A or B?
Yeah. And to that point, what I have experienced in the past, being in big organizations myself as an employee, not doing this just a one-off, like we do something 1 year, and then like an offsite, like a lot of management team do that, which is nothing wrong about that.
No.
But if you do this once a year, it's not really helping. It helps, but I think it's not enough. You need to bring that in a more frequent way. At least in my experience, that was always way better.
Yeah, an away day should be the springboard for something. And again, you don't need these big set piece events. Taking 5 minutes at the start of a meeting, having a dedicated Slack channel for just sharing personal stuff, these small things. And there'll be a lot of people who are listening to it going, I don't want to be personal at work.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not, I just want to earn a paycheck. And that's totally fine. And it's not taking up any extra time. It's not saying you need to. But I bet you if there's suddenly a Slack appeared with everyone sharing their favorite cartoon character, you'd probably check it every now and then, even if you never wrote anything. And so, being a bit more human at work is no bad thing.
Yeah. In my view, more important than ever. In what we just discussed. One part, the technology, then the global polemic or war topics. If we don't concentrate us being human, we can only lose.
Yeah, and the more... Yeah, that's a fact I'm seeing with AI and teams that I work with. The more AI improves and is doing our thinking, is doing our writing, is doing it just reduces the need to actually have a conversation with somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? And we're losing, there's an atrophy of basic communication, human interaction skills. I kid you not, I walked into a company and I could see there was two departments had hostility with each other. And I remember talking to the two people who were involved, and I said to one of them, so have you gone over and spoken to them? And he looked at me and said, no, why would I do that? I sent them an email. I wrote it in this lecture. I said, no, but you've just got to go over and say, look, this is, I'm not happy with it. He said, no, that's I don't want to get told off. I don't want to have to face that. And I said, well, you got to, just go and talk to them. And it was amazing that somebody was scared of a conversation, but I say amazing. It's very common in modern life.
Yeah. And I think that's going back to what you do. That's why it needs people that come from the outside. I know in big organizations always, we have all the people inside that can do, but they're part of it.
Yeah.
It's very difficult from an internal to point the finger at things because they don't see it. They're blind quite often.
Yeah.
When someone like yourself or your team members come in, then it's different because
it's completely
you
different.
can talk.
It's this old. You can't read your own label, right? It's really hard. Yeah. So having that independent third person, but also who gives you that nudge. It's the difference between training in the beginning with a PT and doing it on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get there, but if someone's there standing over you going, no, you're doing it bad form, you're not doing it enough, you'll accelerate quicker.
Yeah. So how can people find out more about you? How can people reach out to you?
As ever, I spend a disproportionate amount of time on LinkedIn, so come and look for Faris Aranki. If you want to see some more of my work, just type Faris Aranki into any AI. And if you're not checking yourself out on AI, you're missing a trick here. But yeah, come and find me on LinkedIn. Come and check out our company, Sheer Ghetto, at www.sheerghetto.com. Or just come and track me down. I can be found wandering the streets of London or running the streets of London, and always happy to have a conversation.
Yeah, and as well, listen to the other podcast where we went deeper into leadership topics. We did a walk the talk. You shared more use cases on what you're doing with organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. Go watch the TEDx. You'll get a nice flavor of this kind of stuff that I do.
Faris, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure to have you again on the podcast.
Thank you very much, Jens.